Okay, is everything ready? Is everybody ready to go?
I don't know. Are we?
I don't know. Are you?
I don't know. Are you? This is your show, dog. I'm just here.
You're just sat there waiting.
Completely forgetting about it. But yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I await questions.
Yes. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast. Today, I have a returning guest. Cosplaydude637 again has joined the Nexus, but this time around, we're not interviewing him. Well, we already did that. You can check out that episode later. Today, we're actually talking about a book series that he's a massive, massive fan of. The book series has actually been adapted into a movie, which was absolutely dreadful, and a TV show that I actually used to like, but after this conversation, I may not actually like it, and my opinions might have changed. Not only that, but Cosplaydude637 has actually turned this story into a fan fiction of his, which is now on the Tiger Tales YouTube channel. So you might want to go check it out. Of course, we're talking about Shadowhunters, a book series which takes its own twist on the supernatural world of angels, vampires, and werewolves, and magicians and magic and all that stuff. It's a decent series of what Cosplay Dude explains, as you'll hear. But yeah, let's dive in. It's a fun and educational conversation between me and Cosplaydude637. So make sure you check him out, of course. He does write his own fan fictions and stuff, so make sure you check him out later after you listen to the podcast, and let's dive in.
Welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast, a place where you'll find interviews with content creators and geeks alike. Your host, Tiger, has delved upon the Nexus and found interesting content creators and geeks of all fandoms. This podcast is connected to the Zero Hero Network, and now we dive in with another episode!
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tiger Nexus podcast, the podcast where I interview content creators and geeks about all things geeky. Today, I've returned, and of course, as you guys know, we are back with every single Monday. I'm now going to be dropping episodes weekly, which is a lot of fun, and Cosplaydude637 returns as my guest. He was a guest on episode 3, where I interviewed him about his content, but today he's returned, and we're talking about something that he holds dearly to himself. He has tattoos all over his body about this, and he writes fan fiction about this, and I only know a adaptation of the thing we're talking about today, so he's gonna he's gonna educate us, me and you listeners, about said thing. Today we're talking about Shadowhunters. So hey dude, how you doing?
Hey man, what's up? Thank you for having me back on, of course.
Anytime, bro, anytime. So Shadowhunters.
Yes, Shadowhunters
is a book series. They did a movie. They did a TV show. I wasn't a fan. I wasn't a fan of the movie. The TV show is okay. You don't like it because how badly it was adapted, which is cool. I understand that. I've been there. You know, I hate books that got adapted into movies. I can name a few. So, give us the rundown. What is Shadowhunters? What genre does it fit in? What's the story?
Well, Shadowhunters is a race of beings, also known as the Nephilim, that their sole job is to protect the world from demons, while at the same time policing the downworld, which consists of vampires, werewolves, the Fae, and warlocks. There it is. I forgot the last one. Magnus would kick my ass.
So it's a supernatural, fun, sort of book series. So it falls into the same sort of categories as Vampire Diaries, Supernatural, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, that sort of esque.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome. And so when it comes to the books, now I know it as the Netflix show. Netflix adapted it into a TV show.
Sorry, something was in my throat.
So the show had about 3 seasons. Am I wrong there? 4 seasons?
I think 4.
I was gonna say I did watch all of it. Again, I liked it, but I'm not going off the books. You are, which is completely fine. So give us So you've explained what a shadow hunter is, and you said like they're like policing the downworld. Let's start off with the downworld a second. Explain that. What's downworld exactly?
So downworld is basically just a term. It's not actually a place. It's just basically a term for creatures that are not human. So, for example, a vampire was bitten, a human bitten, and drank the blood of a demon. Thus, wow. Thus, making vampires. Same thing with werewolves. It was bitten by a demon and created the werewolf. The Fae are fair folk, or fairies, whatever you want to call them. Those are half angel, half demon. And then there's the warlocks that are born of demon blood mixing with human. And then, of course, our Shadowhunters are Nephilim, which, if you know your Bible, Nephilim are half human, half angel.
I do like the fact they've got a bit of everything in there. They didn't just stick with your normal like vampires or werewolves. They've actually added a lot of the time when werewolves and vampires are used, they quite often throw witches or magic users of some kind. Buffy did it, Vampire Diaries have done it. It's not a weird thing. It's very normal for this type of genre. But I do like the fact that in this particular book series, they're actually demon orientated. If that makes sense. I quite like that. So how do the Shadowhunters fight said, downworlders?
So the Shadowhunters, one being part angel, they're a bit faster, stronger, all that jazz. They also have a thing called runes that give them different powers. The tattoos that our dear host talked about that I wear on my body are runes, which give them different abilities. Some are permanent, some fade after time. And then they also have adamus, which is basically a metal that they use to fight demons with. And it's turned into all kinds of different things.
So, I know in the TV show we see stuff like swords, daggers, arrows. I think there's a whip at some point.
Izzy's whip.
Yeah, is that kind of the same thing in the books, or is there stuff in the books that aren't used in the show?
Well, the show... I knew we were going to talk about the show, and it just... Yeah. The show got a lot wrong with, in my opinion, with the weaponry to begin with, because in the show, it just shows it as a blade, right?
Yep.
Well,
and it glows.
Yes, a typical seraph blade actually looks like a black tube, and then you give it a name of an angel, and that forms into the blade. So they're not normally carrying around swords throughout town. They have these tube-like things on their body, on their person, usually in a weapons belt, and then they pull that out, say the name of an angel, and it turns into the sword. Adamus arrows are used, but they're not like seraph blades. Seraph blades is basically their main weapon. And then we talked about Izzy has a whip, which is one of the main characters, that actually looks like a snake bracelet that sits on her hand until she draws it out, and it turns into a whip, and it's very, very deadly.
I do like the Shadowhunter swords. I've googled a lot.
You've googled a lot. I'm so shocked, Ty.
I definitely. I Google quite a lot. Thank you very much. And I quite like. I don't know. Now that I know how the book kind of portrays these swords and these weapons, I don't know if I like the live action. I don't get me wrong; they look very appealing because
they look cool. Don't get me wrong; they do look cool, and I could see them looking like that after they've been named and turned into a weapon.
Yeah,
but not before. Not just being drawn and they're already a sword.
So with the Shadowhunters, they're very, I don't know how to word this question. They're very organized, they're very, knit group, aren't they? They're not, yes, they're all over the place, obviously, because that's their job, but it's a very I don't want to use corporate because that's the wrong word, but there's a system, isn't there?
Corporate could work. Yes. So the Shadowhunters actually have their own country called Idris. You won't find it on any map because it's hidden to mundane eyes, which mundanes are what they call normal people. Only Shadowhunters and Downworlds can find this place, and it's called Idris. And their capital city is called Alicante, the City of Glass. And there is where the Clave lives, which is basically the bodying politics of the Shadow World. The Clave has a leader known as the Consul, an Inquisitor, which is basically like the chief of police is what the Inquisitor is. And they run the Shadowhunters out of that. But like you said, Shadowhunters are all over the world. The first book series that came out, The Mortal Instruments, is based in New York. But we see other ones throughout the other book series.
So, obviously you can be born, into the role of a Shadowhunter, can't you? Because you don't.
Yes.
Yeah, but can a mundane become a Shadowhunter, or do you have to be Nephilim?
No, mundanes can actually become Shadowhunters, and this is an argument that I get into a lot with fans of just the TV show. So in the group, there's a character by the name of Simon Lewis. Yep. He's Clary's best friend. He becomes a vampire. In the book series, he actually also becomes a Shadowhunter because he gets his humanity back. So the Shadowhunters have 3 special gifts that were given to him by the Angel Raziel, which is the one that first met Jonathan Shadowhunter and gave him these gifts. One is the sword, which is the mortal sword. Then there's the mortal cup, and then there's the mortal mirror. Now, the mortal cup is what he dripped his blood into and told Jonathan to drink from and make other people into Shadowhunters also. So if a mundane drinks from the mortal cup and is worthy, there's the key word there, they will become a Shadowhunter. They will become Nephilim.
So Simon's been a human, a vampire, and a Nephilim. This guy gets around. Fair enough. But I feel sorry for the poor bastard. Damn. Fair. So
the trial he has to go through to become a Shadowhunter. Oh, it's its own book. It's called Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, and just the trials that poor boy has to go through.
How many books are there?
Okay, so there's the original series that came out, which is 7 books. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 7 books. Then we get the Infernal Devices, which is a book set of 3, but that one takes place in Victorian England. After that, we got The Lost Heir, which is a set of 3 that takes place after Infernal Devices. And then we have another set of 3, which is the Dark Artifices, which takes place after the Mortal Instrument books. And then there's a whole bunch of books in between, such as Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, Tales of Magnus Bane, the books... sorry, hold on. I'm trying to think of what it's called. Oh, God. Oh. Basically, warlocks are children of demons and humans, and high-level demons, Princes of Hell, can only have one. And Magnus is one of those, and the book series is about him. And it's the Book of the Red, the Book of the White, and then this last set that hasn't come out yet, because it's killing me, is the Book of the Black.
So, altogether, just the ones you've mentioned, there's at least 20 plus books.
Yes.
That's a lot of books.
Yes.
So, the show only really kind of highlights the Mortal Instruments. Mm-hmm. There is an episode, it could be 2, I could be wrong, that's very aimed at Magnus, and we kind of learn a few things about him. I don't know, if how much they got correct, but they definitely do a whole episode feature about Magnus. Him. You find out about who his parents are and stuff like this. So I'm assuming they did take little aspects of others,
Yeah.
but they never did anything with, like, you said Victorian England and stuff. I did not know there was. I said that's kind of cool. I like that. I like it when supernatural things do, back in the day sort of storylines. That's really cool.
Oh, let me tell you, the Victorian England book series is. Oh, the story is so amazing. I firmly believe you could pick up any set and be okay reading it.
Do you know what? Funny enough, right? That was actually my next question.
So if you picked up Infernal Devices, you'd be okay because you wouldn't know anything about the characters from New York.
Yeah.
If you picked up The Lost Heir, you would be a little bit confused because it talks about the characters, because it's actually the children of the people from the first the Infernal Devices. But you could still follow the story, not a problem. You pick up Mortal Instruments, and you would know the characters from England because you would recognize their names. Because every one of the characters in Mortal Instruments actually has a last name that's tied to the other 3 sets. The only one that you might get really confused in would be the Dark Artifices, because it takes place after the New York incident, and that plays a big role in its story.
So, the authors definitely built their own, big time connected book series. There's last names are connected and all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
How old is this book series?
Not a clue. I think it came out in the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. Funny thing with this book series was I actually did not like it when it came out.
Whilst recording, I'm gonna Google.
Same here.
Shadowhunters. I'm gonna find out when the book came out. I'm very curious.
Shadowhunters release date. Mortal Instruments City of Bones came out in 2007.
Well, that's not that long for a book series, and it's definitely decent for the fact that there's over 20 books. Like, that is nuts. Fair play to the author. Damn.
Cassandra Clare. She is an amazing author.
So, obviously, when it comes to these supernatural stories, they build their own lore. That, how vampires came to be, who the main characters, blah blah blah. But in each one, there's always the main story. So, for an example, for people who are confused, what I mean, Buffy the Vampire Slayer builds this whole idea that there's a chosen girl, she has to slay the demons, but we only focus on Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That's what the show is about. So when it comes to the book series, yes, the Shadowhunters, but what's okay, we'll use the Mortal Instruments because that's the one that got adapted into the movie and the show. What is the plot of that specifically?
Which plot? Because there's like 2.
Let's just go through the characters a minute. Who are the main characters in?
Okay, the first characters you meet are Clary Frey and Simon Lewis, and then you meet Jace Wayland, Alec Lightwood, Isabel Lightwood, and then you meet Magnus Bane. So those are probably the main focus of the Mortal Instruments series.
And so we've already spoke about Simon. We know he ends up being a vampire and then turns into a Shadowhunter later. Magnus Bane, we've already mentioned, being a warlock, which I think in the TV show, I think he's my favorite character. I really like the way I don't know how
I love
is
Magnus.
in the books, but
I love him in the books.
But in the TV show, I think he was just like, I don't know, I recognize the actor as well, but he was just really well done. I felt really heartbroken when it was all like, his backstory and stuff. I just really liked the way they portrayed him. Again, the book may have done him completely different, which that does happen a lot, sadly, but that is one character I will say the show did alright with. I think Magnus Bane is a cool character. And then, so you've got the other 3 who we haven't really spoke about. So do you want to dive in and explain the 3 other people you mentioned?
So starts out following the main character, which is Clary Frey. She is 16 or almost 16. I think she might have just turned 16 when the book started. And she starts noticing, weird things about people that she's never noticed before. And then she sees this girl they go to a club called Pandemonium, and she sees this girl like lead this one boy off, and she has a bad feeling, so she follows him, and then she sees that this boy was actually a demon, and she sees Izzy, Alec, and Jace kill the demon, what she should not be able to see because they're glamored. Now, a glamour is basically a spell of sorts that normal people can't see. And then you later learn that she's actually a shadow hunter. She's just been taken away from that world by her mother Jocelyn because her biological father is actually the main villain of the first plot.
Why is it that no main character in a supernatural TV show can have normal parents?
I think it's a prerequisite.
Oh wait, no, sorry, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Her mum was pretty darn normal, for the most part. But that's
fair.
about it. That's about it.
Yeah, but she didn't live long either.
I don't know. There's 7 seasons. She lived until 5 of them. So you say that he's the main villain of the first plot. Define main villain of the first plot for us.
He's the one causing all the problems. His name is Valentine Morgenstern, and
What a name!
Yes, and he is out to. Basically, he wants to kill every downworlder there is, along with all the demons. He thinks the Shadowhunters are too soft on the downworlders, so he has a plan to basically erase all the current Shadowhunters and start over.
So, see, that's confusing to me, because in my head, if he hates all the downworlders and he thinks the Shadowhunters are too soft, wouldn't the perfect solution to that is just, join the Shadowhunters and then teach them how to be a bit more hard?
He is a Shadowhunter. He was a Shadowhunter. He just feels like the current government is too soft. And the way he wants to go of slaughtering all downworlds, the council doesn't want to do. Most council actually don't mind working with downworlders.
Hence why we have, a vampire hanging out with them and stuff.
Well, technically that's not supposed to happen. When you first start in the Immortal Instrument books, the Shadowhunters are very rigid. But as the book series go on, you learn stuff about each character and about the clave itself, and it starts to change in a good way.
Isn't there a werewolf character?
Yes. Luke, he is Clary's sort of adopted dad, but not really. He is friends with Jocelyn. Luke was actually a Shadowhunter that got bit and turned into a werewolf. You learn that much later down the line. He owns a bookstore. He is not a police officer. That just irritates the living daylights out of me that they did that. He's portrayed as kind of a white hick looking guy, always wearing plaid shirts and jeans, and he has glasses, and his hair's all kind of messed up a lot, scruffy looking. Which, for the TV show, I'm not mad that they got a black person to portray Luke. That doesn't bother me. It's what they did, making him a police officer. That had nothing to do with the storyline.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he is best friends with Jocelyn. He's actually in love with her. But because he's part of the Shadow World, he agrees to be, just friends with them and help Jocelyn as much as he can to raise Clary.
So you said that he was a Shadowhunter and he got bit. So if a Shadowhunter manages to get bit by a vampire or a werewolf or whatever, and they end up turning into one of the downworlders, does that mean they have to stop being a Shadowhunter?
Yes, they are kicked out immediately.
That's a bit harsh.
As I said, Shadowhunters can use marks or runes. Luke can't because he's a downworlder. He can no longer use those.
So does he still have his tattoos though, or are they removed?
I think he still has the scars of the tattoos. Because when runes fade, they leave behind what look like white scars. And I think he still has the scars, but other than that, yeah, his body basically would have rejected the runes as soon as he turned fully into a lycanthrope.
So I got two questions that kind of relate to Luke a second. In the TV show,
Yes.
there was mostly werewolves. Is that in the books?
Yes, but not the way they did it in the TV show. So the Hunter's Moon is a thing. It is a bar. It is a club. It's not exclusive to werewolves, but most werewolves do hang out in it. You actually meet another character that, funny enough, gets involved with Simon when he's a vampire, named Maya at that bar.
I think she was in the TV show. Yeah,
she was.
Yeah. Because I'm sat there thinking, because I remember in the TV show, Simon goes to Luke for some reason. He's a vampire at this point, and obviously, like you said, in the books, it's not dedicated to werewolves, but in the TV show, they did make it very werewolf-like orientated. Mm-hmm. So when Luke walked in, obviously all the werewolves kind of like clocked him, and they all kind of like they were ready to tear him to shreds. Basically, Luke had to like intervene, but yeah, it was. I was curious because I kind of liked the idea of there being specific places for the Downworlders to go. I kind of like that.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool.
And here is where the reference to police actually comes in. So there is a reference to a police station in the book series. The Wolf Pack actually live in an abandoned police station.
Okay.
Now, humans see it as a Chinese restaurant that only does takeout. So every once in a while, the Cubs will get have like a spur of the moment funny kind of thing, and they'll take calls and actually deliver takeout.
That's kind of funny.
There's a joke in there about it when Clary learns about the place. They'll do it sometimes.
So in the TV show, Luke actually helps Simon out a bit when he first turns into a vampire. Does that happen in the book, or is that kind of just like made up?
Luke's there for him because he's been through it. He was human and then now a Downworlder, so he's there for him. But a lot of the book is Simon wants to stay human as much as he can. It's not until after he bites Jace and drinks Jace's blood that he becomes a Daywalker, and he becomes more of a loner because the vampires don't like him anymore.
So, in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, vampires had a lot of strict rules. They couldn't walk in the sun. You had to be invited into a house. And then, like Vampire Diaries, they had a very clever way of making it so they could walk in the sun by wearing very specific rings that were made specifically for vampires. Is there anything like that for vampires? Can they walk in the sun? Are they no? Stuff like that.
So crosses still burn them. They are children of the night, because that's what they're known as, the Night Children. I don't know about the invite thing. I might have to.
I think that was I've never seen anything other than Buffy. I think that was a very Buffy-orientated rule.
But and no, there's no Daywalkers. Daywalkers do not exist. There's nothing that allows a vampire to walk in the day. That's why Simon becoming one is extremely rare and not goodness.
Fair enough. I was just curious because, like I said, a lot of the time...
and garlic doesn't bother them.
Yeah, garlic's never really bothered much vampires anymore, does it?
No, not really.
So, you mentioned the runes, they can fade, kicked out, and stuff like that. Did the TV show ever get the runes correct? Are there any runes that should look different?
For the most part, the look was fine.
Okay, so I'm assuming something went wrong with what they did.
Well, the TV show, I don't remember if it highlighted it on it. I don't think it did. But one of the first runes a Shadowhunter will get, actually, it did. I remember because they had a party for Max, which should have never happened, is the Voyance rune, which is the one that looks like an eye, and it goes on the back of your dominant hand. That is the first rune you should receive at the age of 13. In the TV show, I believe they give him the angelic power rune. Because Magnus throws the party for Max. And yeah, that should have never happened.
So
that never happened.
What does that rune do?
The Voyance rune, basically, it enhances the sight. So the sight is what Clary had without knowing she had it. Some mundanes do have the sight, which allows them to see downworld. So basically, it just heightens your senses and marks you as a Shadowhunter. So if anybody sees that rune on your hand, they know automatically you're Nephilim.
Isn't that just like a warning sign for everything? Isn't that just like a case of, if a downworlder sees your hand, you're like, right, well, you're in trouble.
Yeah. Basically, truthfully, though, anytime a downworld sees any rune, because a lot of Shadowhunters will wear gloves, they're going to go, oh crap, you're a Shadowhunter.
So you mentioned when all the main characters first meet, the Shadowhunters are fighting. She should have seen them, because they've got this like invisibility like ability on. In the show, that is a rune. Is that the same in the book? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a rune that looks kind of like an E. I have it on my arm. It's the glamour rune. It's known as the unseen rune.
So, one thing I always found weird, now if it's in the book, fair enough, but in the show, they looked really daft doing it. But in the show, they had these crystal, I don't want to use wands, but that's the best way to explain them. And they kind
You're
of
talking about stellaes.
Yeah, they kind of ran them over the runes. So they do that in the book too.
Stellaes are a thing. They do look wand-ish, but they're all designed differently. And they are not specific to one person. Like, if I broke my Stellae, I could go buy another one.
Right.
Stellaes are basically the pins for runes. Now, in the show, they just touch them and it activates them. No. Runes fade after time. Well, some runes. Some are permanent, but permanent runes are very rare, like the Voyance rune. The Angelic Power rune, the Parabatai rune, those are permanent. But the others will fade after time, so you have to keep reapplying them. And that's what the Stellae does. They use the Stellae to draw them onto their bodies.
So it's kind of like a crystal tattooed needle gun.
Yes.
Because I remember in the show, they looked kind of weird. They kind of like crystal wands, like I said, they looked kind of strange. And yeah, they did two things, because obviously, when you're recording, sometimes they just clicked over it. Sometimes they just wave it over the tattoo, but sometimes when they paid attention to the detail, they did kind of like trace it almost. So it all depended on like, what was happening and stuff. But they always looked daft doing it. It honestly looked like they were trying to scribble in a bunch of crayons.
Yeah. Runes. So runes are usually applied before battle, and one rune in particularly, it can be applied, but as long as you don't finish it, it won't activate, and that's the healing rune, the Aratsi. A lot of times they'll start to put it on, and then just leave a part of it undone, so that way, if they're in a fight and they get hurt, they can finish it real quick and then get back into the fight.
Wait, so you can actually apply half a rune, or like 90% of a rune?
The only one I've ever seen it done for is the Aratsi, so I'm pretty sure it's just the healing rune that they can do that too.
And what does that heal? Like everything? Like can that regrow limbs?
No. Once you lose a limb, it's gone.
So it's like Deadpool healing sort of. Whereas Wolverine, sorry, it's like Wolverine healing, not Deadpool healing.
Yeah, it doesn't. I shouldn't say it doesn't heal everything, because there are some demon poisons it doesn't heal. You have to have medicine for. But superficial injuries, it's good for, like burns, cuts. Now, if the cut's too deep, then yeah, that's a different story. I have seen broken bones healed from it, or I've read broken bones from it, and the sound effects in my head always hurt.
I've seen. Oh, well, I mean, I read. Oh, that's funny. So with the runes, can a Shadowhunter put a rune on another Shadowhunter?
Yes. And matter of fact, if it's your Parabatai, like the two of us, it's more powerful. So if you were to put on, let's say, the Courage in Combat rune on me, it'd be more powerful than if I just put it on myself, because we're Parabatai. But, like, for example, Izzy could put one on Alec, or Alec could put one on Izzy. It'd have the same power level as a normal one, but you can be applied by other Shadowhunters. But Shadowhunters cannot apply it to other things. It has to be on a Nephilim.
Okay, that's cool, because I think I remember when it comes to the show, I'm sure it was Izzy and Jace, but I'm sure they kind of like, Jace turned around so Izzy could put one on him, and then like they kind of swapped around. So I was just making sure if that's in the book, because sometimes they add stuff, don't they?
Yeah, no, that's in the book. There's actually a scene where Izzy and Jace mark each other.
So when it comes to the book series being adapted into movies or TV shows, whatever the case may be, what have they done that was either completely added, completely like that's not even in the book, or like scenes that they changed so much that it's almost unrecognizable?
Well, the big thing that comes to mind with the TV show is after they defeat Valentine, I think it's season 3, Cassandra Clare was no longer involved in, and they just completely did it their own way. They somewhat followed the story, but not really at all. And like I said, in the TV show, they just messed Luke's character up too much for me. That was one of the biggest turnoffs for the TV show for me, is just how bad they messed up his character. Oh, and killing Jocelyn didn't help either, because she never dies.
So what do you mean by they messed up Luke's character? As in, like, what they did with him, as in, like, he's a police officer, or, like, as in... Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, because he's a police officer, it just... The way he acts doesn't suit Luke. Luke is, from the books, when he's acting normal, not when he's acting like a Wolfpack leader or he's in a fight, because he is a trained fighter. He's just an everyday Joe kind of guy, and he's laid back, and he owns a bookstore, and he's in love with an artist. He's not as aggressive as they made him in the TV show. You want a good adaptation of Luke, I would say the movie Luke got a pretty good job.
Yeah, the TV show Luke, almost, he kind of acted like the older version of what you'd expect a 1980s badass to be.
Yeah.
He was the cool guy. He was like sophisticated. He'd only throw a fist if, like, he needed to. He doesn't understand the next generation and all this jazz. And the way you're explaining it, he's more like Jonathan Kent from like Superman.
Yeah, that's a good assumption. Yeah, good old boy. Yeah.
See, I think, like, because don't get me wrong, I hate it when things get adapted. I'm very nitpicky on books I've read that got adapted into movies. Maze Runner, Twilight, stuff like that. I get very annoyed, and I get very nitpicky at tiny details. Are there any like really small details, like just really small things that they didn't do or they changed that you're sat there thinking, well, hang on a minute, why isn't this like this?
The runes. The way they do the runes, just, I'm like, why did you do it that way? Just, I don't, with the way we can do things, you could easily show somebody drawing something on their body. So why did you do something that simple and just completely mess it up?
Yeah, fair enough. No, that's a good nitpick, to be fair. See, thinking about it, I'm curious. Do they take away Luke? Because obviously, like you said, he's not a black dude in the books, which is, you like you said, you're fine with that adaptation. I'm pretty sure.
I didn't care about his skin color. It just the character they messed up. But I have a feeling I know what you're going to ask. Yeah, they did a decent job having everybody else.
I was going to say, that was my next question. Was like, what about everyone else? Like, because I'm pretty sure that, like, sometimes when they adapt characters, they take away little details, they change hair colors or stuff like that. So I was just curious to see if like they change anything else.
The hairstyle that Jace has in the TV show is not the hairstyle that he has in the books. His hairstyle is more of a scruffy kind of blonde. But I love the Jace's TV hairstyle. As you know, I have the haircut, so
yeah.
If I had to say any other thing I would have wished they would have done a little bit deeper into, Simon needed to be more nerdy. Because Simon was a huge nerd. I mean, we're talking he played D&D, he made D&D jokes all the time. I mean, this guy was a nerd, okay? His best friend was Clary. It was the only girl he ever hanged out with, the only girl he ever loved. They tried dating. It didn't go anywhere. Unlike in the TV show where it shows them fooling around, which that did not happen.
Yeah, that kind of confused you, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, they did try going out when they learned that Jace was supposedly Clary's brother. They did try going out for like half a book. Actually, maybe a whole book. But it never worked. Her heart was never in it. His was. He loved her. But she was in love with Jace, and there was no changing her mind. And so by the end of the book, when he becomes a daylighter, he basically is like, yeah, this ain't going to work out between us. I still love you, but you don't love me back the way I love you. So we're just not going to do this.
Fair. At least he was honorable like that.
Yeah, but he gets the hot Izzy in the end. So okay, he can't complain.
I was going to say in the show, I don't think they ever did Simon as a Shadowhunter.
No. Hence why I get into arguments with people all the time.
So, because I know that, when it comes to your fan fictions and, like you said, Simon does become a Shadowhunter. What you've described and what I've listened to in your fan fiction of Shadowhunters, like Simon's almost like a completely, I wouldn't say different character, but it's almost hard to think of, because I've only seen the show, it's very hard for me to look at that Simon and go, hang on a minute, you're meant to be a Shadowhunter now? Like, how?
So, what happens to Simon it actually involves the second plot of the book series. So, after they defeat Valentine, Clary's real brother, Jonathan Morgenstern, who they call Sebastian, is our main villain. And he is the offspring of actually Lilith. Demon Lilith.
That was the second sort of plot in the show, yeah.
Yeah, which is true. Okay, that is part of the book series. The one thing that they messed up big time with that is it wasn't Clary he became linked to. It was Jace. Him and Jace were actually linked to each other. So if Jace got hurt, he got hurt. If he got hurt, Jace got hurt. It was actually Clary that saved him. It was the whole thing. But they end up in a demon dimension that is ran by Magnus's dad.
Yes.
Oh god, what is his name? Alistair? No, not Alistair. That's the cosplay I just did.
That's Husband Hotel.
Oh god, I can't think of his name now. But and they defeat Jonathan. Yay, everybody saves the day, but they're still stuck in this hell dimension. So trying to get Magnus to do it, the dad's like, well, I'll let you leave, but you have to somebody has to give up their immortality. Meaning Magnus, because warlocks are immortal. They live forever. Yeah. They can be killed, but they live forever. And Simon's like, I'll do it. So, because he's immortal, because he's a vampire. The dad agrees, but the catch is he's taking all his memories too. So he will never remember Clary or any of them. And he agrees. They leave the hell dimension. But Izzy can't let it go because she's in love with Simon. Izzy and Magnus can't let it go. I think Magnus mostly because he feels bad that Simon did it for him, so he didn't have to.
Yeah.
And Clary at the end of the last book, Clary's talking to him, not at the end of the last book, about the end, because the end is at the wedding of Jocelyn and Luke. She's talking to Simon, and Simon has no clue who she is. And he actually has a band in the book that he's a part of, and its name keeps changing. It's ridiculous names too. It's actually quite comical, the names they come up with throughout the book. I think Lotus Panda was one of them or something. It was dumb.
That's actually a dope name though, I'm not gonna.
So he gives her a flyer, says, yeah, come check out our band. yada yada, and he runs off. And Clary's completely upset. She's just like distraught. What am I going to do? I lost my best friend. He paid the ultimate prize. And Izzy's got the flyer, and she's like, wait a minute, look at this. And the name of the band is the Mortal Instruments. So a part of him
that's clever.
still remembers. So they come up with the idea, Izzy and Magnus come up with the idea to send him to the Shadowhunter Academy, because if he can ascend, become a Nephilim, he'll get all his memories back. So it's a loophole that the dad did not see coming.
Oh, okay, that's actually kind of clever. I like that.
So that's why the Simon of my story and the Simon I've been explaining to you is completely different than the Simon you know, because technically he had no memory of all the other events.
So hang on, I'm the ending of the show really pissed me off, and this is why everyone keeps wanting it to come back, is because the way that they ended it was just really dumb. But it ends with Clary, like, she's an artist or something?
Oh god, you're gonna bring this up.
And so, like, I'm just gonna explain for everyone. So the Netflix show ends with Clary, like, now lost her memory. She has no idea what anything is. She the whole supernatural Shadowhunter thing is like just gone out of her mind. She's like, she runs an art show, or she's a part of an art show, or something like that. I think in the actual show itself, it's mentioned like twice that she wants to be a painter or something, and then she spots Jace. And she says that she instantly recognized his tattoo because he's got one of his tattoos on his neck or some shit. And then everyone now wants the show to come back because I'm assuming that's the storyline for Simon, but they made it Clary in the show instead.
Yes, that is so many levels of wrong. Oh my god!
That's confused the fuck out of me, bro.
So let's clarify. Clary does want to be an artist. She actually does have a special power that no other Shadowhunter has. She can make runes. She can see and make runes, which no other Shadowhunter has that power. There's a thing called the Grey Book that was given to him that has all the images of runes in it. She can make runes that are not in that, and her and Jace are technically more powerful than any other Shadowhunters because they actually have other Shadowhunter blood in them, or not angel blood. They have another angel's blood in them, thanks to Valentine's experiments. So she does want to be an artist, yes, but it's not her that loses her memory. It is Simon, and she stays a Shadowhunter actually. She actually takes on her mother's old last name and becomes Clary Fairchild.
See, the show that because I remember, I think it was like 3 seasons in by the time I started watching it. I watched it with the ex-missus. It's right up both up our alleys. We like things like Vampire Diaries until they ruined it, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, and all that stuff. I couldn't really get into Supernatural, but I saw the appeal, Charmed, and think it's right up that sort of like street. So yeah, let's watch it. We liked it, and then they took like a massive break, and then they finally finished it, and then it ended like that. And obviously, that's a good couple years ago now. The Netflix show ended. We're talking, God, when did that end? Hang on,
no, I didn't finish it, so
I'm just gonna Google the release date.
You want me to blow your mind about something else that happened in the show that didn't happen in the books?
Well, the article says that Shadowhunters was cancelled in June 2018, and the season finale came out 2018 into 2019. So it's a good couple years ago the show ended.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, go on. Yeah, blow my mind. Go on.
The wedding of Alec and Magnus doesn't happen in the Mortal Instruments.
Oh wow, is that later on?
Yeah, that's in the Infernal Devices or Dark Artifices, which is the last set of books.
See, at least things like Harry Potter actually stuck to one book at a time.
Yeah. So when that was actually the point where I stopped watching was when they married them off. I'm like, nope, didn't happen. So the whole thing of Alec almost marrying a girl, because Alec and Magnus are gay. So let's clarify for your listeners that they are both guys and they are gay.
Yep.
Well, Magnus isn't exactly gay. Magnus, I guess, would be considered bi.
I was actually gonna ask you that. I was like, is he classed as bi because he does actually have relations? Because he's like 900 years old or something, and he's like Magnus is one of is he one of the oldest warlocks around, or is he like classed as a baby?
And he's not one of the oldest, but he's definitely up there. Because you meet a couple warlocks that are his friends that were actually older than him. Ragnar Fell being one of them. He's actually older than Magnus.
So just looking at it now, Magnus was actually played by the only thing that he's actually really been in noteworthy is Glee. He's the guy who can't sing and just dances.
No way, really? Oh,
Yeah,
I never realized that.
He plays Michael. I think it's Michael Chang. I think his name is.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, because I knew I recognized him, so it's just bugging me. So I had to check. So yeah, it does definitely look like then that they took aspects of other books and just chucked them in. So with you mentioned Sebastian, which ends up being Clary's brother. Is it as confusing as the TV show made it? Because the TV show made that really fucking confusing.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a group of men for any task that our tax-paying social justice system won't and cannot handle. Whether it's rescues, scaring someone, murder, maybe someone owes you money, maybe you don't feel safe, then hire these amazing mutants. A team for any mission for any easy fee. Call the number on our screen for the Mutants for Hire now!
You can listen to Mutants for Hire on Tiger Tales, the YouTube channel.
So, for the good chunk of the first 3 books, you think Jace is her brother the whole time. You think he's Jonathan Morgenstern. Because this is what Valentine told them, and there's no other proof otherwise. And then you meet Sebastian, can't remember what last name he was, Sebastian Verloc, when they go to Idris. And he actually kills Max. That's why the party that Max gets about, getting his first rune never happened. It happened in the TV show, but it never happened. He was like 8 or 9, and Sebastian kills him and knocks Izzy out. That's part of Izzy's storyline, is that she feels responsible for Max's death. And then you later learn, I think it's the end of that book, that Jace actually is no relation to Clary, and Sebastian is Clary's actual brother. And he seems to be in love with Clary.
Well, the TV show adaptation of this Sebastian character, he was very strange. Fair play to the actor. He definitely played off the, I'm a weird person sort of role. But yeah, I don't know. I think the adaptation for this character, there's just something odd about the way they portrayed him. I don't know if it's because the way he acts, or like because the way it was directed or not. I never liked the whole, because of the adaptation of it, I never liked the whole Sebastian arc sort of thing, because his portrayal of the character just didn't sit right. Which is a shame, because obviously, I never read the books or anything. I'm going off the TV show. Just that's what I'm going off.
Oh yeah, the stuff that Sebastian does in the book. You end up hating and loving him at the same time, because he is a good bad guy.
He's one of those. Fair enough.
He actually makes his own version of the Mortal Cup and starts converting Shadowhunters into, I can't remember what he calls them, but they're basically dark versions of Shadowhunters. And he actually does it to Luke's sister. And your heart breaks during that whole thing.
So you mentioned Lilith.
Yes.
Who's Lilith? Let's break that down.
Lilith is one of the princes of hell. Now, in the Shadowhunter lore, the princes of hell were angels that fell with Lucifer. I don't think Lilith was one of the angels. Lilith was actually cursed because she's technically was the first woman of Adam, and then she later gets cursed and turned into a demon. Asmodeus. That's Magnus's dad's name.
I finally got there, like 20 minutes later.
Clicked in my brain. I'm like, Asmodeus, that's his name. But Lilith is just basically a very powerful demon. She's classified as one of the princes of hell just because of how powerful she is. And then underneath that is called greater demons, and then underneath that are just basic demons. And she's the mother of all demons.
When you say demons, let's just clarify that for a second, because again, different supernatural things do different things with the term demons. Are we talking like actual monstrous demons, like things that look like, stuff of nightmares? Or are we talking the downworlders?
Yeah, stuff with nightmares. Demons are actually a completely different thing from downworld. They're from demon dimensions. They're the stuff of nightmares. They're, monstrous. They don't look human. Well, some of them can take on a human form, but those are mostly the princes of hell that can take on a human form. But they were angels, so.
The really funny thing is, the actresses for Clary and Lilith actually have big tie-ins to Arrow, and are actually big parts of the Arrow.
Clary's an Arrow. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, and so Lilith is the actress to William's mother. William is Oliver Queen's son. And then Clary and she's blonde in Arrow. I think I prefer as a redhead though. Well, I say redhead. She's almost ginger. She plays the way in the future tense version of Oliver's daughter. So they both they're both connected to Arrow. I thought that was just a fun note to make.
Yeah, I remember when I saw her on Arrow for the first time. I was like, "Hey, that's Clary."
They ruined Arrow with that, but hey ho. When it comes
That's a different podcast episode.
Yes, when it comes to the demons and stuff, is everyone like against demons? Do the downworlders hang out with demons? Like, what's the whole kind of relationship?
No, for the most part, everybody's against demons. Warlocks can summon them. Low level demons. Yep. Higher powered warlocks could probably summon a greater demon, but they really don't. Try not to. Warlocks more use their magic for money. So you can pay them to do stuff for you. And then werewolves and vampires tend to fight demons. There's an actual war in the book series that all the races team up with the Shadowhunters to take on a herd of demons that Valentine Morgenstern controls.
That's kind of cool. I like that. That sounds pretty dope. So to
me, the books are basically portraying, how to deal with racism and how to deal with people of other genders and faiths and sexual orientations. That's like the underlining stories in all these books, if you ask me.
Yeah, see, I like stories that do very, like, that sort of stuff very clever, like, in a very clever way. Like, another example, a completely different genre of television altogether, but the Orville does a very good job at handling, like, sexuality, sexism, racism, that sort of stuff, in a very clever, it's not thrown in your face, you're not, smug about it because it's very obvious sort of way. So yeah, I completely see that. I can see what you mean by, Shadowhunters using the whole race card without using the race card. It's almost like at the bottom of the deck, which again I like the fact.
Yeah, it's an underlining thing underneath there that we need to be all inclusive and stuff like that.
So if you had to be one of the downworlders, would you go the werewolf route, the vampire route, the fae route, or the warlock route?
Definitely not go fae. You can't trust a fae with anything. Faes they can't tell a lie, but they can really imaginate the truth. I'd probably go werewolf just because I like from the books, the wolf pack. You see a lot of the wolves in the book series. somewhat of vampires thanks to Simon, but mostly it's around wolves and warlocks because of Luke and Magnus.
So, just because we're on the conversation of Downworlders a minute, when it comes to werewolves, I'm gonna ask you the same question what I did with the vampires. Like, are they moon bound? You know, can they shift whenever they want to? What's kind of the rules and restrictions of being a werewolf?
Okay, first off, think Twilight for your werewolves, because they turn into giant wolves, not like the
Bipedal big wolf.
bipedal werewolf. Yeah, no, they turn into giant wolves. Yes, they are bound to the moon when they're first bitten. So when they're cubs, they're bound to the moon. After so long, they can shapeshift themselves, which they and during full moons, the urge is there to turn into a wolf and run and hunt, which most of them do. Heed the call, which always cracked me up thinking about giant wolves running around New York parks.
Do you know, that was actually my second question was, are they, even though they can turn whenever they want to, are they still like, kind of like influenced by the moon? Because that happens a lot. That again is another trope in sort of like supernatural genres, that if a werewolf learns how to control it, the moon still does have an influence on,
Yeah,
the
there's
wolf's
still a
part.
pull. There's still a pull to run and hunt during the full moon, but they don't have to.
Fair. So explain fays, because you said they're like fairies, but like give us a bit more of a description, because some people may think of a fairy as a little pixie thing with wings.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong. Pixies, gnomes, trolls, basically anything supernatural that doesn't fall under the werewolf, vampire, or warlock trope is a fae. Unicorns, nixies, you name it, they're fae.
You could just imagine Jace riding a unicorn.
Hey,
Oh no, it has to be Alec. He's gay. He's gay. It has to be Alec. Hang on.
that was a little genderist there, but okay. But yeah, that's the fae. The fae are actually, it's broken up into two courts, which you learn about in the last set of books, the Dark Artifacts books. There's the Seelie Queen and then the Unseelie King.
So with you said warlocks, they're magical. You said they can live so you said they're immortal by the sense of they don't age, but they can still be killed.
Correct.
So I can
just like vampires.
so you can snap one's neck, but he could live for like 10,000 years.
Yeah.
So can a human become a warlock?
No.
So
warlocks are born.
So I'm assuming that's the same for a fae?
Yes.
So we have two that a human can turn into, then two that you are born into.
Yeah. And the thing with that is warlocks are actually sterile. They cannot have kids.
Then how the fuck are you born a warlock?
A demon mates with a human.
Oh, right, nice. Okay, so what you're saying is a warlock cannot mate with a human woman and have another warlock child.
No,
but a demon and a demon and a human can mate and have a warlock child.
Yes.
Right, I had to clarify that. That makes sense now. Okay, that's interesting. It's a shame, but that's interesting.
Now, as far as I know, like fays can mate with each other to make more fays. But the first phase were the offspring of an angel and a demon. And you can have half fae. So fays can mate with humans.
When it comes to
meet one.
When it comes to like warlocks and magic, are they like they have to mumble random mumbo jumbo crap to cast spells, or are they like kind of just they clip their fingers and do shit?
Depends on the spell.
Okay.
Like some spells, like summoning a greater demon, yes, they have chance. But for like minuscule stuff, like making furniture appear or making coffee appear, yeah, Magnus just like snaps his fingers in blue flame and then boom, it's there. But for the higher stuff, yeah, he has to chant.
So can a warlock be born but not practice magic? Or is it a case of they're going to be able to do something magical because they're a warlock.
Well, point of clarification for the warlocks too is that when they're born with a warlock mark, which is something that classifies them as a warlock. In the case of Magnus Bane, it's his cat eyes.
Yes.
His friend Ragnar Fell was actually born green with horns. So you
cool.
cannot, if you're born a warlock, you can't hide you're a warlock because you have your warlock mark. Now, do some warlocks not practice magic? I haven't heard any in the books, but it doesn't mean it's not possible due to the fact that, maybe they're just trying to live a normal life and they don't want to be part of all that. But as far as the books go, it's always there magical based. You actually meet a character who has blue skin that's actually a nurse.
Oh, wow. So can they hide it from the mundanes?
Yes, with glamours, yes.
Okay, so they can also...
If they glamour themselves, then yeah, they can hide it from the mundane world. That's how the one woman that's a nurse works as a nurse.
So I'm assuming, even though she's a nurse, if any of the Shadowhunters saw her, they'd see her as, the different colored skin, or they also... Okay, so they can... Alright, okay, I see how that works now. Okay, I think I'm liking warlocks a bit more, I'm not gonna lie. Warlocks seem pretty cool. I'm assuming it's a case of the older the warlock. Let's say a warlock just, does magic.
Katarina, that's her name. Katarina Loss. Sorry. I had to look it up because
that's a cool name.
It was going to bug me.
So I'm assuming, let's say, a warlock, practices magic and stuff. I'm assuming the older they are, it's basically, apparent that they're just going to be stronger, the older they get.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The older they get. And when we say magic, you gotta be clear because black magic is against the Accords, which is basically the law. So if you practice black magic, then you're in trouble.
You keep reading my mind because, again, that was actually going to be my next question.
Karabatai, remember?
Yeah. We'll get into that in a bit. So that was actually my next question, where when it comes to, you've got werewolves are in packs, the Shadowhunters have their governments, that sort of stuff. Do warlocks have rules and regulations they've got to follow?
Yeah. Yes, they do. Warlocks are more nomads, so they're not always together. They do have a citadel that has, all their knowledge at it. You go to it in one of the offshoot books. And they... Not so much as laws, but more rules to follow, I would say. Because our friend Magnus Bane is actually the High Warlock of Brooklyn, which means he's a higher class warlock than your everyday Joe. And
strange shit going
on. He has to abide by the High Warlock rules. But on the same note, you don't get nominated for High Warlock, you become High Warlock. In other words, Magnus was one day, you know what? I'm the High Warlock of Brooklyn. Now he's the High Warlock of Brooklyn.
So if someone killed him, does that mean they're automatically nominated as the...
No.
No? Okay, so it doesn't... Okay, fair enough.
Like I said, it's a self-made title. There are High Warlocks, of LA, you meet him. There's High Warlocks in England. Magnus actually lived in England for a long time. That's one of the cool things, too, I forgot to mention with the connecting books. Magnus is actually in all of them.
That's cool.
Magnus Bane is one of the reoccurring characters in every single book series.
I like that. I like it when they connect things like that using... I actually, in my own book on the Tiger Tales Mysterious Origins, I have a character like that who appears in pretty much every story.
Ace.
No, that's in Tiger Tales and Tiger Tales Lost Stories, and that's mostly because he is. You cheeky fuck. But no, in my Mysterious Origins, I have a character who's literally when it comes to all my different storylines in one universe, he's connected kind of somehow or turns up somehow in all of them. But when it comes to the vampires, are they... I'm assuming they also have rules and regulations?
They have clans. So there's not like, from what I've read and know of the books, there's not like one central government for vampires. Each clan is responsible for its own members, and each clan has its own area. Like, again, Mortal Instruments, we meet the vampire clan of New York. There's a head vampire clan in England, too. So, yeah, it's just a matter of, they don't have, like, a head government. Really, none of the Downworlds have a head government because they all have to follow the Shadowhunters Accord law.
Yeah. So with vampires, so obviously in other supernatural stuff, a lot of the time there are ways a vampire can get away around, kind of like a cheat way of not drinking human blood. Is that the same with Shadowhunters, or do they have to drink human blood to stay alive?
No, animal blood.
So they follow the animal blood route as well.
There are still vampires that drink human blood, and as long as they don't kill the human, it's not against the law. But, like, our character Simon, he lives on animal blood when he becomes a vampire, because he won't drink, well, he wouldn't drink a human's blood. He ends up doing it, but not on purpose.
Yeah, I was curious, because that happens a lot with vampires, doesn't it? They try not to make, if a vampire is a main character, they don't want to make the vampire dick by killing people, so they make it so, you know, there's a route around, which I don't do in my my main original story. I have a vampire character, and he actually does drink human blood. He doesn't actually kill the person, that's a merit, but he doesn't go down the whole, you know, vegetarian option of drinking animal blood.
See, so in the Shadow World, he'd still be not breaking the law. As long as he doesn't kill them, he won't be breaking the law.
So, I'm assuming with all these, you know, you got the four, you know, versions of a Downworlder. I'm assuming if they broke one of the laws, let's say a vampire kills a human, for example, I'm assuming the Shadowhunters are like the police and they have to like intervene.
Yes.
Do they like arrest them? Do they kill them?
Yep. They. Okay. Typically, yes, they arrest them. Shadowhunters of old, and when I say of old, I mean even past the Victorian England time period, would have probably just slaughtered them on the spot. But as civilization went along, you know, courts came about, stuff like that, the Shadowhunters adapted it too. And so, yeah, they'll have a trial, and if they're found guilty of what they did, then yes, they'll be put to death. Sometimes, depending on the crime, they'll let the clan take care of it, and if the clan doesn't take care of it, then the Shadowhunters step in.
Sorry, I just have this image in my head of a vampire being arrested. It's like, John Doe, you are under arrest for killing 3 humans by sucking blood out of them. Whatever you say will be used against you in the court of law. Just like your man, like the normal, like boring way of arresting someone, but implementing that they're a vampire. That's great.
Okay,
I like that.
so they just tried to call me on Facebook. Weird.
How dare they?
I know. I don't even know who they are. Okay. Anyways, yeah.
I just had that image in my head. I thought it was funny. So, are werewolves? Can silver hurt werewolves in Shadowhunters?
Yes, but it will not kill them. Now, like, you see silver powder get used, and it burns them. Now, if you pierce them in the heart, then yeah, they're going to die. Sorry, this person keeps calling me on Facebook, and it's starting to piss me off.
Well, how dare they? Rude.
Yes, very.
So I kind of like the fact that Shadowhunters try to, like, they're not being original. They are using tropes that have happened before, but they do try to like single themselves out just a little bit, and I like it when things do that. I think it's rather cool.
Well, there's a phrase in the books that is key in a lot of what you're saying, and that is that all the stories are true. So, and they tell that to Clary and Simon all the time because, you know, they grew up in the mundane world. So any story they heard, it's real.
Fair enough. I like that. That's kind of cool.
And they have all kinds of fun phrases.
So, what's your what would you say is like the best story arc for Shadowhunters, and what would you say is the worst story arc for Shadowhunters?
Well, again, it comes down to so this is a question I get asked a lot when people want to pick up the Shadowhunter books. And I ask the question, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with syndication or timeline? Syndication, you start with Mortal Instruments, because that's the first set out. You want to start with timeline, you go with Dark Artifacts.
Fair.
And I haven't really found a book series in the Shadowhunter world that I don't care for. Now, like, is there a book in a certain set of series that I'm just like, oh, I have to listen to this one to get to the next one? Then yes.
Which
Because the third book... What book am I on? Am I on book 4? Yeah. The third book... because in it, we have what I call whiny Jace. It's during the time frame that Jace thinks he's Clary's brother, but he's still madly in love with her, and he knows he can't do anything about it. It's just whiny Jace. So.
I can't bang this woman. How dare, for fuck's sake!
I'm there's something wrong with me because I'm in love with her, and it's like. So
the second he finds out that they're not related, I can bang her. Woohoo!
Yeah, well, that actually, after that happens, he goes into what I call emo Jace.
Oh god.
Yeah, he gets emo-fied for a short time. But that has to do with Lilith and Sebastian, so... There's a storyline reason why, but it's still... Yeah.
Yeah, it's like when they tried to do the whole emo thing with Xander and Willow, with Vampire Xander and Willow and Buffy.
Yeah, there's a story to it, but it's not...
It doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
So, when it comes to Shadowhunters, is there, like, anything in particular you wish they'd touch upon, or, like, a place they'd go to, or, like, maybe if, like, the author could do, like, another, like, side series, and they could do something or other that you'd want to happen?
I want more knowledge on the Princes of Hell. I really do. And the other demon dimensions. Because there's multiple dimensions, and you travel to some of them in the books. But I would love to know more about the Princes of Hell and how they came about. And, you know, Lucifer's mentioned, but he's never actually been in any of the books. So I would just love for her to delve more into that.
Do you know if she's, like, writing more after the book that you're waiting on? Or?
So, I'm waiting on the Black Book of the Dead, which is one of the spin-off books. And then she has another set that she's going to write, and it's supposed to be the last 3 of this world.
Damn.
Which makes me very sad.
So, let's say she does these 4 books that need to come out, and she never does anything with it. Would you then implement that in your own stories? Like, just so you could have that sort of, like, idea?
I already am.
Oh. Fair enough.
Yeah, in my Shadowhunter Blood Ties story, we are going to see all the princesses. Blah, blah, yeah. Yes, this is Kingdom Hearts, so we're going to see all the princesses of Heart. No, we are going to see all the princes of Hell.
Now that's a crossover. Shadowhunters and Kingdom Hearts.
Oh God! I've already done one crossover that I think turned out amazing, but
It's actually really good, to be fair. Okay, so in the last time you were on the podcast, I said at the very end that we'd explain what parabatai is. Parabatai is a phrase that we mention every single time at the end of one of our stories. You call me yours, I call you mine. And
one of us actually has the tattoo.
Yeah, you have the tattoo. I'm getting the tattue.
He's said this for years, people. He has said this for years.
Can I just say, right, I actually said that I'm literally to him in like 4 weeks ago now, that the next time I have money, which is after my son's birthday, which has now just been and gone, I'd look. And I live in the middle of nowhere, so getting to a tattoo place isn't as easy for me. I live in a tiny village.
I gotta give you a hard time. We wouldn't be Parabata if we didn't.
So, do you want to explain what that means? How does one become one? All that stuff.
Okay, so a Parabatai is a group of warriors that are closer than blood. They are basically they complete each other, and not in a romantic sense because that's actually a taboo. They're the perfect half of each other. You know, in the case of the Parabatais that we see in the Mortal Instruments, which is Jace and Alec, Jace is the hothead. He's the jump into a fight, where Alec's the more, okay, whoa, slow down. Let's think this out. So they're the actual equal to each other. Point of clarification again that I get into an argument with a lot of people on is Parabatai is rare. It is very rare to find your Parabatai. It does not happen as often as some people would like it to. Trust me when...
Would you say a decent way, and you can say no, obviously, but would you say this is a very decent way to describe it? It's almost like the Parabatai is the Shadowhunters' way of saying like soul brother or soul sister.
Yes, without the romantic portion of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Each Parabatai gets a mark, which is what we were just teasing Ty about. And with that, your runes, if it's put on by your Parabatai, is stronger. You have a connection. Like, for example, if Ty was feeling upset, I could sense it. Or if I was hurt, Ty could sense that I was hurt. We can track each other easier. Stuff like that just makes you a better team.
And so in the TV show, we only really ever see Jace and Alec, but in the book, there's more than just Jace and Alec, isn't there?
Yes.
That we see.
So each one of the books series has a set of Parabatais that are vital to the story. The first set, Infernal Devices, we have Will Herondale and Jim Carsters. Then we have James Herondale and his Parabatai Matthew Fairchild. Then, of course, we have Jace and Alec. And later in the book series, we have Clary and Simon. And then in the last book, we have... oh, God, I just had their names. I looked at the picture and it went away. I literally just looked at the picture and it went away. Oh my God, it's a Blackthorn and a Carsters, I can tell you that. Oh, that sucks. And I'm supposed to be the expert.
Yes, you're the one educating me here.
Alright, list of Shadowhunter Parabatais in the books. It's gonna kill me when I freaking do get it. Because it's just gonna be like the name of Magnus's dad all over again, and we'll be talking about something completely different, and I'll yell it out.
It's alright, Xander's computer kept on messing up when we did his episode, so with you, it's just your brain.
Yeah, my brain's just checked out. Will, Gemma, no. James and Matthew. Oh, you also did get Cordelia and Lucy in with James and Matthew. Huh, it doesn't have them. That's weird. Well, their thing is they actually break the rule of being in love with each other, and badness ensues. Because you can't be in love with your Parabatai.
So what happens if they fall in love?
your runes actually start hurting. You can lose control of the power. And in the case of our two characters that I can't think of their damn names, they actually end up transforming into like these giant god-like beings of light that they're not supposed to be able to come back from. But they end up at the end of the book, they end up doing it, and they are no longer Parvati. Their rune is burned off.
Ow.
And it's burned off by holy fire, so it technically doesn't hurt them.
Well, damn.
Come on. Don't do this. There we go. Emma Carsters is the girl. Where's my Blackthorn? If Rita was in here, she'd slap me upside the head because she knows I'm like the back of her hand. Because the last set of books, The Dark Artifices, are about the Blackthorns. Not Mark. Mark's the older brother. Oh. Julian. There we go. Julian Blackthorn and Emma Carsters. Oh my god.
Well, that took you 8 years.
Shut up. A lot of information I'm trying to download into your brain here, dude.
Yeah, that's very true.
So yeah, they actually fall in love with each other. Julian actually was in love with her from the beginning. He just never said anything. And then throughout that book series, Emma starts to fall in love with him. And by the end of the book series, they're no longer Parvati and they go off together.
So, I wanna bring up the whole Parvati thing with us for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
So when me and Willie became friends, we started off becoming friends because of the whole story writing thing. I saw that he was uploading stories into like an audio drama format, and it baffled me. I was really confused. I was like, holy fuck, I didn't realize people did this. I want to do this. And I told him, like, you kind of inspired me to do it, but I'm going to put it on YouTube. And then, we started like talking, and I think we had like one video call where we just like we somehow magically connected like two of our stories in a really cool way, which has now just become like one of the biggest connections in fan fiction history, I think.
Every one of our universes are connected
now, yeah. And then you messaged me about the whole Parabatai thing, and obviously I know the TV show, so I knew what Parabatai was, but I didn't know the extent of it, because the books obviously go into it a lot better. And I said yes, and the really strange thing is, now people are going to listen to this and think we're talking out of our asses, but the really, really creepy thing is like, I'll message Willie, like, oh, hey dude, how are you? And the reason why I've messaged Willie is because something's just told me to do it. Something in my gut has told me to pick up my phone and message Willie. And the funny thing is, there's a 6-hour difference between us. He is 6 hours behind me. It is currently 20 to midnight for me, and the time is for you
6:41.
So yeah, there's we're currently because of the time difference. There's a big time difference, and something will tell me just to message him, so I do. And I'll go, hey dude, how are you? Just the most boring, bland message ever. And he'll message me, go, yeah, I'm not great. And it's just like, hang on a minute, how do I know to message you? Like, how did I know this? And it's just like, yesterday. Obviously, for you guys, this is like a couple of weeks ago, but yesterday he messages me and I'm in a mood. Story writing ain't going my way, and he goes, "Oh, sup, dude?" I'm like, "Sup?" And he's like, "You alright?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "What you doing?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "Right, what's going on?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "Dude, obviously that's bullshit." And I'm like, "How the fuck do you know this?" And like we're always bouncing ideas off each other, and the amount of times during this conversation alone, Willie's gone, and before you ask, or he's answered a question I'm about to answer. And like a lot of people may think it's weird, but like it's true. Like we are completely connected in some way, and it's awesome. I fucking love it. I think it's great. And like, this is why I'm happy to call him a Parabatai, because we do have this connection. and we completely bounce off each other. And in the past,
we feed off of each other. That's for sure.
Yeah, like in the past, we have completely, one or the other. One of us will message the other one, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, we always know. Like you've messaged me before, and I've gone, "Oh, my PC's fucked up again," and it's just like, hang on, how come you're messaging me when my PC's fucked up? Like, that's really weird. Well, like, I'll message you, and you're happy because like you've made a new cosplay, and I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, how am I messaging you at this exact time? And to some people may think, well, obviously you're going to talk to you guys are friends. Yeah, but it's the amount of times it's happened. It's more than a coincidence now. Like it's
like once or twice is a coincidence, but like the amount of times we have talked to each other, or even for like on my side, I'll be having a day at work, and again, the time difference is way different for us. So when I'm at work, Ty's usually chilling at home. He'll just send me some random message or say something, and it'll just make me laugh, and I'm like, I needed that.
And yeah, it just, I don't know, it just like Mark is our Three Ranger Bro companion. We made the Three Ranger Bro Studios and stuff, and between us, we've made this like Power Ranger multiverse. We're all connected and stuff. But me and Willie have done it on more than just Power Rangers. We've connected all sorts of stuff, down to like just the small, tiny details. I made a fan fiction of his fan fiction, which is now canon, and they're now connected big time, and things like this. We're trying to. We've now got Kingdom Hearts storyline about to be connected and things, and we always bounce ideas off each other. And I know that my mind can run a mile a minute, but I think when it comes to me and you, and just what we do, I don't know. We'd be kind of fucked if we fell out proper.
Yeah. Trust me, I don't want to experience it, because that one fight we had where we didn't talk for like, that 1 week where we didn't talk for like what, 3-4 days? Yeah, that was the worst time I had.
Yeah, we argued, and we didn't talk. I think it was about 4 days. I think we didn't talk for.
Yeah.
Like on the fifth day, we were very like monotone, blunt with each other.
Yeah.
By the sixth day, it's like nothing happened.
Yep, it's all ancient history. We're back to normal now.
And it's just like, it's just weird to think that we call each other Parabatai, and it is the case. We are literally, okay. Let's take out the Shadowhunter terms. We are soul brothers through and through.
Yes.
And it's just it's freaky. I'll say that it's freaky how I can message you, or you'll message me, and it's a simple case of like we needed that message, whether it's a good thing, bad thing, monotone thing. Like you said, you're having a shit day at work, I'll message you, and you somehow get uplifted from my 3-minute rant about something. Whether you found it funny or you just needed to hear me talk or whatever the case may be. And it's not just story writing stuff. It's families. We're both. He's married, I'm engaged, we both got kids. Stuff like this. He works, and it's everything, and it's just it's almost freaky. How connected we are. It's mental.
Yeah, it's definitely crazy, and it's something that when I asked him, I remember thinking to myself, I was like, why am I even asking him this question? He has no clue what Shadowhunters are. Because he did, at the time I didn't know he had watched the show, so because we hadn't talked about it, we had mostly just talked about Power Ranger stuff. And so when I asked him, my brain was going, what are you doing? My heart was like, trust us, we know what we're doing.
Yeah, it was strange because at that time we'd started like working together, but like the part of me that's been bullied 1,000 times, the part of me that's been like rejected, I've lost friends, and like, I find it very hard to trust people. Like literally, I talk to on a daily basis about 4 people, maybe 5, and I live with 2 of them. So like when you working together, making stories and stuff, I was hesitant. I was like, this isn't going to end well. This is just going to end up me being alone again. As per usual. That was my thought pattern, to tell the truth. And then when you asked me to be parabatized, I was like, why do I want to say yes? I don't even think I thought about it. I think I just mentioned, yeah, go on. Sure. You know, just something told me to, like, fuck it, do it.
Yeah, and the rest is, as they say, history.
And yeah, here we are with you on my podcast, and you're educating me on Shadowhunters.
So now you know why I asked you. Do you know the significance of the word?
Yep, and yeah, I mean, it's would going back to Shadowhunters just for a second. If people like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Supernatural, Vampire Diaries, you know, all that sort of stuff, would you recommend Shadowhunters, or do you think it's very different to that sort of stuff?
Now, I would recommend Shadowhunters, but I would also go in and say, what you know of Buffy in that, don't apply it to this show. I feel like you'll like it because it has similarities, but know that it's not Buffy. It's not Angel. It's not Supernatural. But it is good.
Yeah, I think some people do kind of go into Supernatural assuming it's all the same when it's not, because thanks to the whole copyright disclaim of Supernatural stuff, anyone can use vampires, anyone can use Dracula, anyone can use werewolves, anyone can use warlocks and fays and that sort of stuff. It's anyone can do this and anyone can do what they want with it. So that's literally what they've done. And this is why Vampire Diaries, and you know, if you take a vampire from Buffy, a vampire from Vampire Diaries, a vampire from True Blood, and a vampire from Shadowhunters, they're all going to be different. You know,
Yeah.
so like that's the I agree. I think Shadowhunters does a better job on giving you more supernatural than vampires and werewolves, because a lot of the time Supernatural is vampire and werewolves and there's stuff around it. Does that make sense? So I think when it comes to Supernatural, I think they do demons very well. They do other stuff like that. And then when it comes to Shadowhunters, I think they do better with specific termed and specific named supernatural-esque stuff. And, you know, like I said, I've only watched the TV show. I actually spoke to my parents the other day, and my mum actually said that I've read the first book. And I think she's right. I don't think I've read all of it, but I definitely, because she was talking to me about the books I had, and she's like, Ty, I know the Mortal Instruments. I know that's the thing. I know you had that on your bookshelf. I was like, oh, have I? I'm thinking about it. I was like, I think I've read the first book. I don't think I've read all of it, but I've definitely read like the first book in some way or another. I think I still have access to the audiobooks you have, so I'm definitely gonna, or if I don't, I can just ask for it. But I'm definitely wanting to at least listen to the books, because I don't have time to sit down and read a book at this point in life.
Trust me, neither do I. So, but with my dyslexia, audiobooks was a heaven sent to me. So
that's fair enough. So one question I'm going to dive into now then is your fan fiction of Shadowhunters. I wanted to bring this up since you're a story writer. Do you want to explain kind of what you've done? Where does it take place in the book series?
Okay, so Shadowhunters Blood Ties takes place after the last set of books, so after Dark Artifices. It's a couple, I don't remember if I said how many years later, but it's a couple years later. Everybody's older. Alec is still consul, which is a whole thing in the book series. So Alec's technically in charge of the Shadowhunter world. Him and Magnus are married. You know, Jace and Clary are now running the New York Institute. Simon and Izzy still live at the Institute with them and as working with them. And I decided to bring in a group of familiarly named children, which are my four kids, Mikhail, Angelique, Xander, and Ruthie, as the new Shadowhunters. So Ruthie's character was actually born a Shadowhunter, so she grew up in the culture, but Mikhail, Angelique, and Xander were what is known as dregs. Now, that's technically a bad word, a slang word, in the Shadow world. But they were dregs, which means they were mundane born turned Shadowhunter. And the four of them were assigned to the New York Institute to be trained and taught by Jace and Clary. And it's going to follow, a good chunk of it follows the storyline of, training these kids, but it also I created the character not Shinon. That's wrong character.
Just imagine you turn Shinon into like a demon-like thing in Shadowhunters.
Right. That's great. Yeah. Let's have Shinon show up. Hey, why not William too as a demon? But I created Magnus's sister, which technically, according to the Warlock rules, should not exist because there cannot be two children of a Prince of Hell. And she is basically daddy's girl, and she's going around releasing all the princesses of hell from their hell dimensions onto Earth. And our team is charged with stopping her.
Well, the last one you did, the last chapter of Blood Ties, I really enjoyed that.
That was all about the kids.
Yep, I really enjoyed that one. I thought that was pretty cool. So you've done a crossover with Shadowhunters.
Yes. With Supernatural.
Yes. I'll let you explain that one.
Yeah, I got heavy into watching Supernatural, and my oldest daughter Angelique actually is a real big fan of Supernatural. So I was like, you know what? What would happen if these two teams teamed up? And so I created the special of what did we call it, Ty? Supernatural? No.
No, it was
Shadowhunters.
Yeah, Shadowhunters, yeah.
Shadowhunters, and thanks to Ty, it is now on YouTube on his crossover channel, so you could actually hear the whole thing as one instead of in 3 separate installments. But basically, you get characters like Sam and Dean teaming up with the Shadowhunters, and then you Castiel's there, so is Crowley, and it was just a fun little side jaunt that I went down.
So, talking about Shadowhunters, you've actually started a new Shadowhunter storyline, which doesn't revolve around any of the book characters. I'll let you explain that one as well.
That is correct. This one is called Tales of the Cornwall Institute. So our friend, Mark, who is part of the Three Ranger Bro Studio, lives in Cornwall, and as we all know, he's the Red Cornish Ranger. And I wanted to do a story, get your words out, Willie. So I based myself off of Jace. Obviously, Ty becomes Alec due to the fact that, we're pair ba Ty. My wife is Clary. So I had us in my original Shadowhunter story, and I was like, well, I want to do something that has Mark for a character. And so then I, was doing research about the England's Conclave, which is the England branch of the Shadowhunters. And I found that the Cornwall Institute actually got shut down. So I was like, hey, what if I create a team of Shadowhunters that are original characters and try something my Parabatai does, which is write a story for original characters. So it still has the presence of the Shadowhunter world, but it's not characters we all know and love. So we end up with...
Gone.
Okay, we end up with Mark Trafalgar as the head of our institute, Ace Silverhood as the weapons master, and yes, that name does sound familiar to all of you if you know Ty stuff.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Daisy Coldridge, again, if you know Ty stuff, that name sounds familiar. And Luke Kingsmill, which, again, if you know Ty, that sounds familiar. Are we sure this story was for Mark, or was it for you? And then later in the chapter, you meet the last two members, which is Isla Trafalgar, Mark's daughter. And then I actually used my daughter that I don't actually use her a lot in stories, which is Kylie. And she was a mundane that gets turned Shadowhunter. So everybody else was already Shadowhunter born, but she's a mundane that becomes a Shadowhunter. And yeah,
it actually flips your Blood Ties group as well, because in Blood Ties only one of the kids is Shadowhunter, but the rest are brought in.
Yeah. So it just follows. It's just going to follow them. I have chosen a villain for them. Let's see, what was his name? Because I looked up legends. So what I was trying to do was use stories and legends from Cornwall to tell these stories. And there is a legend in Cornwall that my story is based off of, and I don't have the name of that person in here, so I'll have to go look it up again. Yeah. So yeah, that's the new story.
Yeah, I think going off the Parabatai, me and you being Parabatais, one thing I like is I struggle writing stories where you take existing characters and you're like continuing their story like almost like an alternate universe type thing. I prefer working with OCs. I prefer making OCs and just dropping them into worlds, and I'm very good at that. Power Industry Foundation, Alexis the Vampire Slayer, Color Matrix. I'm very good at that sort of thing, and you're very good at the one thing I mentioned. I'm not good at. You're very good at taking characters and going, you know what, this is now where they're going. This is now their storyline. Ultra Rangers, Shadowhunters, that sort of stuff. You're very good at that. And so I've been saying to you for ages, I have two storylines, which would be Albedo 10,000, which is based in the world of Ben 10, and the Legacy of Donatello, which is based in the world of Teenage Ninja Turtles, where I've gotten a character and continued their story. But with those two specific stories, it's yes, I'm continuing their story, but they're so much different. And I've made a bunch of OCs, so I'm still kind of dabbling in my OCs and stuff. And there's more OCs than original characters and stuff like this. So I've actually said to Willie multiple times, and I do plan on doing this, where I'm gonna take a character and just write with this character or characters from something. My Kingdom Hearts storyline being one of them. There's a new Kingdom Hearts storyline which is linked to Willie's, and it's gonna be about one of the characters. And I'm just gonna play with it. I'm just gonna go with it. I'm not comfortable doing this, but sometimes you gotta be out your comfort zone. And then Willie comes along and does the Shadowhunter storyline on YouTube, where it's all original characters, which is my domain. So it's almost like we're trying to dabble in each other's ponds and to see if we can, pull some fish.
Yeah, I mean,
and I like it.
We keep doing stuff. Like you said, the reason you started doing stories on YouTube was because you found out I was doing my podcast. The reason I'm going to start doing one-shots is because of you. I set a challenge for myself because of you. So we keep each other going.
No, yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. That's a good way of, we definitely bounce off each other very well. You to tell the truth, I'm not taking a break the whole story content, but I'm physically at this moment in time, by the time this episode comes out, I would have already started writing by this point. But from the 1st of April to the 15th of April, I'm not physically writing anything. I'm still going to create stories. I still have plans. I still need to schedule things. I still need to, kind of make plots because I'm kind of stuck on a few things. But I'm not going to sit there and physically put finger to keyboard because I'm burnt out. I have written 107 chapters since the 31st of October to the 1st of April. That's a lot of fucking chapters on 5 different channels. I'm dead. I physically I literally ended my challenge by removing 3 chapters because I was done. I was done. And the funny thing is, I sat there and I beat myself up for ages going, I can't do it. I have this, not a schedule, but I have this quota of always uploading. And then I went, but Willie's done it. Willie's able to take a break. You've done it at this moment in time. You're not uploading on story times with Cosplaydude637. And I'm like, well, if Willie can do it, I'm sure I can. And that was actually how I convinced myself to take this break, is because I thought of you and I went, do you know what? If Willie can take a break, and you've done it before with your other podcast, if you can take a break, and you've got more of a hectic life than half of them do, I'm sure I can take a break. So I was like, do you know what? Fuck it. Yeah, let's take a break.
Well, sometimes we just need to step back and be like, okay, take a breath, recollect my thoughts, because like you said, your mind does go a mile a minute, and sometimes it's just, okay, I need to collect my thoughts on what I'm actually doing, not just throw everything on the paper.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Trust me, I listen to you when you talk, and every time you say stuff, I'm like, okay, dude, breathe.
Yeah, I don't know what breathing means.
It's like, take a breath, collect your thoughts, and then go.
Yeah, No, that definitely how I feel.
See, but again, that's what we do for each other. It's like, you always have ideas. I mean, I can come to you with like, well, I want to do this, and then you're like, 5 minutes later, we have a complete story.
Well, see, the really funny thing is, and again, by the time this episode comes out, I should actually be in the process of writing this exact story. But, Xander came to me and he was like, well, you see, I kind of want to do this. I was like, whoa, hang on a minute. Okay, slow down. I've already got like 10 ideas. Let's go. And now with his Universe 919, I'm helping him with his Zelda storyline. I'm having a story in Universe 919, which will be started uploaded about May time and things. So, within a night, me and him kind of figured everything out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I'm doing more first-person stories now, too, because of you. Because
Yeah,
I'll have
I
one
noticed.
that's only coming out on Tiger Tales because of you.
Yeah, I noticed.
And then your new channel will have a lot of my stuff once I get it done.
Okay, so I think that kind of wraps it up. I'm sure you'll be on again at some point when it comes to, me and you being parameterized and things. I'm sure we'll come up with another way for you to come on. There is definitely a Three Ranger Bro episode I need to figure out of what I want that to be. With you and Mark.
Chaos?
Yes.
Complete and utter chaos?
Yes, that's very true. So when it comes to your story writing and stuff, I know you've done this before on the podcast, but I'll let you do it again. Do you want to shout out where people can find you and all that stuff?
Oh, you want that list, huh? No, that's a long list. Well,
leave story time for a second. I'll explain that if you want me to, but just do the rest of it.
So you can find me if you look up Cosplaydude637 on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, you'll find me. That's just my screen name for mostly everything. Then you can also find my stuff that is on Spotify, which is Sailor Moon E, which Ty voice acts for me. The Order, which is my original story. Ty, you know this better than me, and yet I'm the one saying it.
To be fair, as your parameter, you pretty darn well remembering all your shit.
You do. Let's see, what else is on Spotify, Ty? I said The Order, I said
Sailor Moon.
Sailor Moon.
There's also Power Rangers Universe 19.
Thank you. I knew I was forgetting one. It was driving me crazy. And then, Power Rangers Universe 19, where I upload all my Power Ranger stories, and Ty has storylines on that.
And Kamen Rider.
And Kamen Rider, yep. And then on YouTube, I have One Piece, the audio drama, which Ty reluctantly joined, but I got him into it.
Reluctantly joined.
Dude, it took me forever for you to make a character.
Yeah, and because I don't know One Piece.
Which it actually plays to his strengths. His character does. So
yes.
And then I have Nostalgia Time, which just released a new episode the other day, which I messed up on. And then I now have Tales of the Cornwall Institute on YouTube. And I think that's all of them.
Yeah, other than Storytime with Cosplaydude637, which I thought I'd explain. So Willie's taking a break from Storytime with Cosplaydude637, and he kind of got stuck. He didn't know what to do, so I said to him, do a clean slate. Just take everything off and do a clean slate. And I said to him, well, Power Rangers was originally on there, but he put it on Universe 19. The Order was originally on there, but he made the Order. So I said to him, put your other stories on my stuff, on my channels. Just now, from now on, the stories on Storytime go to my channels. So now he's got a completely clean slate. He can do whatever with Storytime that he wants to. So whether he stops doing it, comes up with something new, it's all up to him. I'm sure by the time this episode comes out, he actually might have an idea. Who knows? But if you want to listen to things like the X-Men, Shadowhunter Blood Ties, as we've talked about several times now, then you go to Tiger Tales, and his Kingdom Hearts storyline goes on Game Over, and he's actually got a new storyline which isn't on Storytime, but that'll be on Tiger Tales or Stories. So there's going to be a lot more Cosplaydude637 orientated storylines on my channels. throughout April, I'll be uploading the stuff he's already done, and then from then on, if you want to listen to anything on Storytime that you've enjoyed listening to, come the Tiger Tales channels. You'll find them there from now on, and hopefully Willie can come up with something different or new with Storytime.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. And by the time this episode comes out, Storytime's been shot and buried.
All right.
With a wanted poster. All right then, guys. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Of course, this is the Tiger Nexus podcast. This is where I interview content creators and geeks of all kinds. We talk about all different sorts of things. Today, we're talking about Shadowhunters. Willie, do you know actually where people could listen or find Shadowhunters if they ever wanted to like get the books or wanted to listen to the audio drama? Do you know any specific place?
Yeah, Amazon has them in both book form and audio, because that's where I listen to them. Pretty much any audio book app or platform you can find will have them. Sometimes YouTube has them, but I've found in the past that sometimes YouTube doesn't have all of them, so it kind of sucks. So yeah, definitely Amazon, is Google Books still a thing? I don't know anymore.
Google Books a thing? Fuck.
But yeah. So my answer is Amazon. There.
Awesome. But yeah, this is Shadowhunters is a good series. Again, I've only ever watched the TV show, but I'm definitely now wanting to at least listen to the audio because, like I said, who has time to read books these days? I write enough myself. I can't be reading other people's stuff. But thank you guys for joining us. Don't forget to follow on all the podcast places and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And of course, I shall see you guys in the next one.
This podcast is a production of the Three Ranger Bros Studios, in association with Zio to Hero, the podcast.